Today, we're recapping our favorite hotels from 2024.
Welcome to Vacation Mavens, the podcast that brings you travel inspiration and practical tips from two moms who know how to plan the perfect trip.
I'm Tamara from Your Time to Fly.
And I'm Kim from Stuffed Suitcase. With over 40 years of travel experience between us, we're here to share our favorite destinations from road trips to cruising, theme parks, and European adventures.
Whether you're planning a family vacation or a mom getaway, we have the tips and tricks to make memories that will last a lifetime. So Kim, I know that 2024 was the year of the cruise for you because you did quite a few cruises. And so I probably stayed at more hotels than you did. Actually, I feel like I want to go back and look at how many hotel nights I had this year. But I think one of the things that our listeners always enjoy is when we recap some of our favorites from the year. And so I was thinking to kick off 2025, what we could do is share some of our favorite hotels from 2024.
I think it's a great idea. We've done some of our past episodes about like favorite things and different things like that. And hopefully you guys all caught our where to go in 2025. So here's a build on that. Maybe some of these hotels will spark an interest for you.
Yeah, they'll get onto your list. I know I had to go back and think, where did I go? Because
I know I had to scroll through my calendar.
Yeah, sometimes I go through my pictures and I'm like, oh, that's where I was. That's where I was.
Yeah.
Or like my folders, because I always label everything by like month and place. But the first one that I was thinking of was actually someplace that I went last January, which Glenn and I did a little weekend getaway to Amsterdam last January. And we stayed at the Andaz. And it was really such an amazing location. So if you don't know, Andaz is part of Hyatt. I've become a bit of a Hyatt loyalist.
Yes,
and so
you are.
I was using points, which is always great. Actually, that trip was at a points and miles getaway from the flights and the hotel. But I love this location. It was right on one of the main canals, walkable. It's in the stylish kind of area, not like the center of town or not the red light district where it feels like a little just like ultra touristy or whatever. This is like a very nice area. We actually went on a boat ride, a canal boat ride where it was like a private, actually it wasn't private. We booked it to be public, but we were the only ones on it. So because it was January. So that took, that left from right across the street from where we were staying. I found the people were really so nice and the room was really stylish. The only downside I would say is that it did have an open bathroom concept, which you know that I'm not a fan of. So it would not be the best for either two friends or families because it was basically like an island that had the sink on one side and like a dressing table on the other, like next to the bed. And then there was a shower and a water closet. So it was a little bit odd in that way, but the service was amazing. The location was amazing. And of course, the price was great because I used points.
Yeah.
So
I know you've gotten totally into the Hyatt world. I'm still on the Marriott world just because of the footprint, but I like the Hyatt points for sure. And for you guys that don't know, Hyatt is a transfer partner of Chase. So if you are wanting to play in the travel points game, there's some credit cards out there that can help you out. I can't remember, Tamara, have you ever had Globalist?
No. So Globalist, you need 60 nights or spending a heck of a lot of money on the card. And so I haven't gotten there. I'm actually just about to hit 40 nights for the year, which is a combination of when you have the personal card, you get 5 nights free, and then you get so much for spending, and then you get so much for staying as well.
Yeah.
So
nice.
Yeah.
Cool. You talking about the open room. It reminded me of one of our recent stays, which was in Iceland, Reykjavik. And this was the Exeter Hotel. And I've stayed at a few other places, but I did actually really like this hotel. It was, like you said, it's the open format, which I feel like there's a lot of, it's very common in Europe to have that. I don't know if you've noticed that as well, where it was the same thing where it was the sinks were floating almost in the middle on a short wall, and then the beds were on one side of the short wall, and then the bathroom was on the other side. So it's not great for families or friends, but from a location standpoint, and they had free breakfast with our room rate. And then the other thing that I loved about this hotel, the Exeter Hotel, is they had passcode gates for your luggage. We arrived early one day and our room wasn't ready, and we were able to just store our luggage in a gate with it's free, as opposed to having to check it with a bellhop or worrying about that. And then when we came back from our Windstar cruise, we had already known about that, and we were wanting to walk around the city until our flight. And so we actually went back to the hotel, even though we weren't staying there again. But we went back to the hotel and used those gates to store our luggage while we walked around town. So That was one benefit that I really liked about the Exeter. And it also is, the location is great. It's not in the main downtown area, so it's probably about a 10-ish minute walk to that main shopping district. I can't remember what the name of the street is, and the big Rainbow Road area.
Right.
But otherwise, I liked it because it's not in that loud, busy area. It's a little outside of it, but easy walking for me.
That's good. And the luggage thing is huge, I think, with Iceland, because I've stayed at Airbnbs a lot when I've been in Reykjavik, and it's a pain because the flights come in really early and you can't check in until later, and you generally do not want to spend the money for an extra night because it's so expensive. So
Absolutely.
so that's really helpful. Good to know.
Yeah.
Put that on my list.
It was a good one. And the price was right. So that was good. I don't know if they're a partner with anyone. So if you're wanting to do points, that might not work. But yeah.
Another one.
What's the next one for you?
Yeah, another one that I wanted to mention, which is really nice for couples, which is actually someplace we went in January, is called the Weston Inn, but it's Weston. So not like the Weston, like the Marriott brand. But it is a really nice luxury in Vermont. It's in Southern Vermont. And it is owned by the family that owns, I can't remember, but one of the really nice hotels in New York. So when it comes to service, it's like really top notch. They have like really well-trained people, a really wonderful restaurant with great chef, which they've now opened their own gardens and farm. It's a small inn, but really nicely appointed. Sometimes people will go either a little too grandma's bedroom or too modern, but this was just that right mix of elegant, rustic, like luxury kind of thing. I had a fireplace in the room. It was just like really lovely and like really great service. They had a spa. That was where, I don't know if I've ever talked about this, but they offered a private yoga class, and it was like one of the best yoga experiences I've ever had. I was like, can I move here and can you work with me all the time?
Yeah.
And they have a spa, so I did a massage there. Glenn worked out in the fitness room. So it's just like if you want to go and have a nice romantic getaway. Yeah. And nearby, there's plenty to do. It's right across the street from the Vermont Country Store. There's another little cute store and things nearby, cute towns nearby, hiking, or if you want to do snowshoeing, skiing, like all that kind of stuff too. So I loved it. Really good for couples.
I think that's awesome. It seems like that you've had a lot of hotel experiences in the East Coast. So if people are wondering, you're definitely a good one to reach out to. You probably have some great recommendations. And there's a Hallmark movie about Vermont Christmas, just so you know, that came out this year. So if you ever want to dabble into your Hallmark movies, Tamara, that might be a good one for you.
So what's next on your list?
I think for next for me, I was going to mention where I stayed in Victoria, which I know I won't go into it long because I know I mentioned it when we did the episode of Victoria, but it was the Inn at Laurel Point. And I just really love that hotel because the one thing is the architecture of it. I stayed in the Erickson Wing, which was like a famous architect of the area. And it's just really beautiful. The rooms were really spacious. They have La Acetone body products. They have a really big soaker tub. So I was able to take baths. And of course, they just have a beautiful view of almost all the rooms have a view of the harbor, which is amazing. I will say it's not in the main downtown little harbor area like the Fairmont Empress. But for me, I think the Inn at Laurel Point was just really amazing. And they have a really fabulous cafe and full service restaurant on site as well. So if you are having the getaway and having late mornings, wanting to have dinner in your room, it's a great home base.
I feel like we've talked about some that are really good for couples or other types of getaways, but I want to bring up one that was really good for a family. And I don't think I've talked about it on the podcast yet, but it was the Sandestin Hilton, which is in Sandestin, Florida, which is on that 30A or panhandle of Florida near Destin.
Yeah, the white sand.
Yeah.
White sandy beaches.
And I really love this hotel. I love that area. I just feel like the beach is absolutely fabulous. Like it's calm, it's pretty clear, the sand is unbelievable. Like it's just gorgeous. And I was there in mid to late October and the weather was still incredible. It was not humid, but it was probably like high 70s to mid 80s, which is, I love it.
Yeah, that's my weather too.
Yeah, so I really loved it. But what made it so amazing for families is that they have basically two towers, and one of their towers, and it's not like insanely large, but it's large enough that it has everything that you would need. But one of their towers has 300 rooms and every one of them has bunk beds. So I
Okay.
stayed
I remember you saying that. Yeah.
I stayed in a room where you open the door and there was a bunk bed set, which each had their own little like TV too. And then you went down the hall and there's like a big bathroom, walk-in closet, separate little vanity. And then the room itself was huge. And it had a mini fridge with the mini bar, but also a dorm style fridge. So that's great for
That's
families.
amazing.
It
Yeah.
had a king size bed. And then there was like space next to it and it had a pull out couch as well. So if you
Oh, wow.
had
So a large
5 to 6
family.
people, like you could
Yeah.
easily fit all in one room. It was not crazy expensive. Like it was in the 300s, but I feel like
Yeah.
to put a family of 5 in one spacious room like that on the
Well, and to have them separated a bit.
right on the water too.
Oh, yeah, because they had beach access.
Yeah,
Right?
and so
Yeah.
I actually had a wraparound balcony. So
Wow.
nice balcony overlooking the water, which kind of went around the corner. So really great. And there were pools. There was a really nice spa there as well. Really nice restaurant. But then it's part of this whole resort complex, which has a few other hotels and vacation properties on it too. So basically, there's like this shuttle that goes around and will drop you off at different places. So even if you didn't want to have to worry about driving, there's golf courses, there's like a putt course. And then like across the street, there's like across like the highway, so you would take the little shuttle. There's a marina where you can take like a sunset boat cruise or just there's like fishing charters that
Nice.
go out of there. There's this little town that they've made with all kinds of entertainment, like a little ropes course and a carousel, and they do outdoor movies with kids, and it's like little bars and little ice cream shops and restaurants. So it's like a little dining entertainment district that they've created.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
And where would you, so it sounds like it's probably definitely a road trip-y type thing, but if you were car free, where would you fly into and then could you Uber to the hotel?
Yeah,
Because
you
it sounds like a really good like insulated resort experience, but being able to move around a little. So that sounds cool.
Yeah, you fly into the airport is Destin Fort Walton Beach
Oh,
Airport. So it's
okay, cool.
VPS is their
Awesome.
letters.
Okay.
And that was about, I don't know, I'm saying like maybe 40 minutes. So it might be a
Okay.
little bit expensive of a Uber transfer if you wanted to do that, but it's certainly doable. And otherwise, if you did get a car, you can also visit some of the other towns. And there's just so many activities in that area.
I know it's targeted towards families, but I also, when you were talking about it, it seems like a really cool girlfriend getaway that you guys, if you wanted to do a little more but and share a room, might be good if there's space. Only one bathroom kind of hinders things, but it sounds good that way. And you said it was Hilton as well?
Yep, that one is the
So that's-
Sandestin Hilton.
So you can do points, Hilton points
Yep,
as well.
exactly.
Nice.
Actually, I think almost all of my hotels, except the one that I mentioned before, the Weston, I think you can book via points.
With points.
Yep.
Nice. You talked about families, so I will mention I'm going very different direction from you, but when we were in Istanbul, you and I both, we got in a little early and I shared a room with some friends. We stayed at a place called the White House Hotel, which was just this random hotel that my friend found. And there was 3 twin beds in the room. So while it's not ideal for a couple and kids, it's worked out well for friends wanting to share a room or even like your family, it would work well. It was compact and small, like not a big shock for Europe, but I loved that it had the 3 beds. But the thing that stood out to me about this hotel was one, the price. It was extremely reasonable. And it was in the Sultanahmet area, which is the area is very easy walking distance to all of the shopping, very easy distance to like the Blue Mosque and Hagia Sophia and the Basilica Cistern and all of that stuff that you want to walk around and see, and tons of restaurant options. So highly impressed with it. The customer service was unbelievable. They had breakfast was included on like the rooftop. And so it just really stood out as being it's now the decor, it's not like luxury, but it was very good and clean and functional, and just the layout was great.
Yeah.
And the location was fabulous.
It's always good to find those like individually owned and operated and boutique ones that are just a really good value, especially if you're not staying very long or just like location matters more.
Yeah, and we met up, so you saw the location was just fabulous.
Yeah,
so it worked out well. Yeah.
I was going to mention actually too from our Istanbul trip too. So
I have another one coming.
This might make our Istanbul episode a little bit shorter. But yeah, where I actually stayed, as you guys may remember, Kim and I went to a conference in Istanbul, but we both went in a little bit early. We stayed at 2 different places, and then we moved over to the Conrad Hilton, which is where the conference was taking place. And then we both stayed at another place afterwards. So where I stayed before the conference was called the Hagia Sofia Mansions, and it's actually the Curio Collection part of Hilton. So I actually booked that with points as well. and it was amazing. Like, I would love to stay there again. I don't think it was that expensive if you were booking outright, but I think it was more expensive than where you stayed. But definitely like a very nice luxury feel to the rooms. But what's interesting about it is that it's situated over a number of different buildings all around the Hagia Sophia Blue Mosque area. And so you check into one building, but you might be staying at a different one. So they all have so much character. And the decor was beautiful. All the finishings were really great. They welcomed me with tea, and a little cat jumped in my lap, which I liked. And then actually, because they're in a pedestrian area, like you get dropped off and then they come pick you up with a little golf cart and then they take you to where you need to go, which is really nice. And then I stayed in a different building, and both of those buildings had courtyard patios with restaurants. And so I had breakfast out on the patio. I don't think breakfast was included, except that it was included for me because of my Hilton status, but it was amazing. Like, I felt bad because I was like running a little bit late, not late, but I didn't want to take an hour to have breakfast. I was counting on a short breakfast, and then they come out with like their whole spread of meats and cheese board and your salads and your like fruits and vegetables, and then what kind of eggs would you like? And here's your bread basket. And then here's your pot of tea. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I have enough for 5 people here. And it's just me, and I'm going to hurry. But it was certainly something that I would have enjoyed, just relaxing over that breakfast. Yeah. So I really loved it. The location, like I said, was really incredible. The service was really good. And yeah, so if you're looking for a good place to spend your Hilton points, totally would do that.
A couple things to note, like where I stayed with my Marriott points on the extra stay afterwards, had a breakfast like that as well. It was on the rooftop, and I was by myself, and they brought out like all the bread and all the meats and cheeses. And I told him at one point with the meat, I'm like, I'm not going to eat that. Please don't leave it at my table, because I don't know. Do they just throw all that food away? Do they all eat it? I always wonder how that works with those kind of services. But the other thing I wanted to mention that you mentioned to me about your location where you stayed, and then I noticed it where we've stayed, is just be aware when you're in Turkey, there is a call to prayer that happens at 6:30, I think, every morning, or ish, right around there. I can't remember the time.
Yeah, it was around 6:30.
So it just, when you are staying near a big mosque, just be prepared that there is going to be the call to prayer on the loudspeakers. And so I think it's beautiful. It's a really nice area. For me, I'm a morning person, so it was really nice to be able to experience that aspect of the culture. But for some people who maybe don't want to get woken up in the morning, keep in mind.
Yeah. Mine definitely overlooked one of the mosques, and I heard it, and I was tired enough from my jet lag to go back to sleep. And I did, but I was aware enough to recognize that sometimes, what it was. Like when I was in Morocco, it sounded a lot like tinnier, and like the loudspeaker system wasn't as good, or like the voice wasn't as good. But I remember thinking to myself, like, wow, they have a really good voice. Like, you can really make that out.
Yeah, and then the time when I was in Turkey, I liked it.
And then I started to fall back to sleep, and then a fire alarm went off. So then I was not going back to sleep. But luckily that was not any problem. And before I even made it outside, I was turned back to go back to bed. But
another note about Istanbul quickly. The Kempinski, where we had our closing event, I think is a fabulous property. So if you are looking for luxury, and then there was one other one I'm trying to remember where everyone else stayed. It was in a different region, but the Conrad where we stayed, I love the Conrad. It's a great property and everything, but the location was really difficult with Istanbul traffic. So keep an eye on that. I don't know if you would agree, Tamara, but I would say if you are staying in Istanbul, I would avoid that area. And then when I stayed later on, I stayed near the Galata Tower area, and I would actually maybe avoid that area as well, because lots of hills and very tight streets, hard to get your luggage in and out and around. So some heads up on places, maybe areas not to stay in Istanbul.
Yeah. And the one of the places I wanted to mention was also in Istanbul. One note on the Conrad, it seemed like it was a very convenient place, not just for conferences, but also for people that were coming off of Viking cruises, because they had a Viking guest right in the lobby, and it is like a straight shot to the cruise terminal. So that makes sense. If you're doing that, it's a good location. Where I stayed when I came back was the Park Hyatt, and it was in like the ritzy area. So imagine like Park Avenue for if you're in New York. So there were all designer brands, very upscale. It's near the Ritz-Carlton and all those other high-end luxury brands. So I think if you are not your first time to Istanbul, you're not looking to do like the main sites. You're looking to come and like shop and eat well and feel like, don't worry about the price of cabs when you're going anywhere. Then the Park Hyatt was fabulous. Like, I was upgraded to just like a deluxe room. It wasn't like a suite or anything, but it was huge. And it had a steam shower and it had a soaking tub. It was really beautiful. So I really enjoyed that room, and I would recommend it for that type of stay, but not, I think if you are visiting Istanbul for the first time, like where one of us stayed the first nights would be a better choice.
100% agree. Yep. Great. I will go then to another place in Turkey. So outside of Istanbul, I had the opportunity after our conference to go to Cappadocia. And I learned, I'll talk more about our Cappadocia trip, but Cappadocia is not a city. It's like a region of towns. And where we stayed is in one of the up and coming towns called Urgup. Or Urgup, I don't know how they would say it, but the cities that most people stay in is Göreme, which is really busy and full of shops and tourist traps and hotels. And then there's another one called, I'll have to look it up, so I'll talk about it in the other episode. But where we stayed in Urgup, they're trying to get it up and coming. And we stayed at a brand new cave hotel, which I also learned a little bit about cave hotels. But it's called the Avantgarde Refined. And so there's not hot air balloons that take off right where we're at. So you can't really see them yet. But they're hoping that within the next couple of years, they're trying to get authorization for a hot air balloon launch point on the other side of the town. And so then where the hotel it would be a great place to be able to see them. So just keep that in mind, that if you want to stay at your hotel to see hot air balloons, maybe it's not the best location, but if you're thinking bucket list long term, or you're going to do your own hot air balloon ride, it's amazing hotel. So it is, again, brand new. It's opening in the new year, I believe, or by New Year's Eve or something is the opening date. So we were there very early and they were still doing construction, and some of the rooms were still in the process of being made over. So just really an opportunity for me to get this first time look at this property. But the customer service is just unbelievable. This is true luxury where they're greeting you every time you come back, multiple people there at the entrance greeting you, offering you a drink when you come back, asking if you need anything. When you're ready to leave, everyone's checking in. They've got snacks that you can grab on your way. They can arrange all of your transfers and everything like that. And it's just a gorgeous property. The food was amazing. And the service is really where they stand out. They've got a really big mindset on local artisans, and the rooms are very cavey. There's a lot of variety in the rooms. Some rooms have windows looking out. My room was more in a back corner. I had no windows, really. I had a window into like the walkway, but no windows with a view. And then they've got heated floors and everything. Some people felt like it was too warm. Some people felt got way too warm, and so they had to open up windows and stuff like that. But it really does. It's a very cavey experience and quite fun to be a part of. But it is, what I've learned about these caves is they make them look like caves. They're not actual caves that they build into. So they make the building and kind of against a hillside, and then they make the property look like a cave. So something to keep in mind.
So I have saved my best for last. And I was just, as we're talking, I was like looking through my calendar to try to figure out how many times I've stayed at a hotel this year. And I haven't added it up entirely, but I think it's around like 75 nights or more. So we're certainly not covering everything. I'm really picking the ones that I feel were just extra special. Yeah, just really good. And the one that I just absolutely loved was the Meneghetti Wine Hotel that Glenn and I stayed at in Istria in Croatia. And this hotel is just, it's dreams. It's like total bucket list kind of hotel. They have some standard rooms, and then we had booked the 1-bedroom residence just because the other room was only available for 3 nights and we wanted 4 nights or something like that. And so we had more space than we needed, but it was amazing because when we walked in and Glenn was like, oh my God, just like one of those jaw-dropping experiences. Yeah. So first, just a beautiful wine estate, so beautiful property. And they take us over by golf cart to, actually, no, we followed them in our car it's like staying in your own little villa, but they're like townhouses in a way, but they're made to look old style with like stone and everything like that.
Nice.
We walk in and there's like a really open dining and living area with a little half bath off of that and a nice little like wet bar set up and just like super comfy. And that walk walks out to a private patio and a private backyard. And then you could go out the back gate of the backyard and you're right by all the vineyards. And then you just walk over to where the lodge and the restaurant are, like the main buildings.
Yes.
And then upstairs was just a beautiful bedroom with a huge bathroom. It was just a stunning property, amazing food. They had a couple different pools. They had spa, which Glenn used. I still can't really get massage, which is bumming me out. But there's also a beach club. So they will take you over to a beach club where they have
I remember
like
that.
a beach, but like a little beach bar that's serving some stuff there too. They're building out some other things. Like I know they have tennis courts and they have like bikes that you can rent. And I think they're building out maybe golf or some other things, but it's becoming like an estate, but I loved it. So it's called the Meneghetti Wine Hotel and it's in Istria, and it is actually a member of the Mr. and Mrs. Smith collection.
Oh, yeah.
So
Who
technically,
are they partnered with now? Because didn't they
Hyatt.
switch?
Yeah, they switched from Hilton to Hyatt, I believe, and then small luxury hotels went from Hyatt to Hilton. Unfortunately, it's not like it doesn't follow the same redemption points as Hyatt would, and so you're not going to be able to book a room there for 15,000 points or something.
Yeah.
But you can earn points, which is what we chose to do. So we were like, you know what? We don't have enough points to stay there. But if I can at least earn points by staying here. So you're staying at like a boutique property, but you're still earning something that you're going to use
Absolutely
for something else.
Yep. And your nights count.
And my nights counted. Yeah. So all of that. So that was really good. I highly recommend that one.
Awesome. Hopefully we have given you guys some great ideas. Maybe some of these sparked interest for places maybe that's on your list. And so you're making notes. But yeah, we're happy to have you join us for another week, and we'll be back again soon.
And we will definitely be diving deeper into our trip to Turkey.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, take care.
Bye.
If you like this episode, be sure to subscribe and rate and review on your favorite podcast app, as that helps other people discover us. And if you want to see more, follow me, Tamara, at Your Time to Fly on Instagram and Facebook and all the others.
And you can follow me, Kim, at Stuffed Suitcase on Instagram, Facebook, and of course my blog.